in both Skype and this, so that whenever you get any doubt, you can just buzz me up, right? Not a problem, so that we won't get in between some disturbance, right? Fine. So let's move on now. So what we have seen something on web parts on different lists and batches, right? I mean, different document libraries and different editors. So all these things, whatever we have seen yesterday, are nothing but a web part which we have added, which are already there in SharePoint. Fine. So we can also add something like the custom web parts, and we'll be seeing the very good way to add a custom web part, like how actually we can do that, right? And here remember guys, the data is maintained consistently across the SharePoint. If you have one codes list under one site, now our mother site is nothing but corp IT collection, right? So under this you have created some info institute, right? Under that you have created some libs, right, which is library, pictures and all. So the data will be consistent across the web part or anything, right? So that you have to remember that thing, right? Fine. So today we'll check out how we can create a custom web part using .NET, because the first thing is why we can use only .NET for creating custom components. Can't we use any others? So basically I would say that you can, but the thing is, again, you have to port it to .NET, because your complete SharePoint is built on .NET, and for .NET they have provided one IDE. Whenever I am saying IDE, right, let me give you some introduction of this. IDE is nothing but integrated, right, development, right, environment. This is nothing but an environment where you can actually write .NET programs, and this is the only way where you can write all the .NET programs. Like, it can be a web application or a Windows based application or a mobile app, anything. So .NET editor is only editor being provided by Microsoft where you can write program, right? And anyways, there are different versions of editors anyways, right? That is okay. Using any version you can write program on any versions of .NET. That is okay, fine with that, right? And today we'll be checking out how to write a custom web part using a .NET editor, right? So for that I already have my software .NET in my PC being installed, where I'll go to all programs, right? Oh, let me check whether I'm recording this or not. Yes, it's going on, right? So all programs right? My PC is so slow because I have so many Photoshop and all, right? I'm sorry guys, that's why sometimes my PC, my laptop is slow. So here you can see I have something called Visual Studio, right? I have all three versions of Visual Studio. The latest one 2012, 2008 and 2010. So never mind, you if you are going for any real time, you will be getting any of these. But if a client is, if a organization is more upgraded to the IDE, so he'll be having at least 2010 or 2012 is the latest one which we got last year anyways, right? The basic question is, now as of now, even in markets everyone uses 2010. Let's go to 2010 and let's open Visual Studio, which is Microsoft Visual Studio 2010. Fine. So 2000 from 2010 they are calling it as a Visual Studio Ultimate. Fine, it's Visual Studio 2010 Ultimate. Now let me, so this is the editor where you can actually write programs using .NET, right? Yeah, this is editor. So today we'll be checking out how we can actually create web parts using .NET, and how actually we can integrate it with our SharePoint site. Anyways, don't worry about the bigger terms when I say integrate, deploy, build, redeploy, remove it from server, patch it from server. Everything is done by your editor. And as your SharePoint is directly connected to .NET, which means again the same thing, like SharePoint is again built on .NET. Whenever I say built on .NET, which means again they have used the same Visual Studio to work on it, right? So which means both are on same platforms. So your SharePoint is on platform called .NET, and you are trying to develop a custom web part which is again on .NET, which means portability across the same platform will be easy and will be optimized, right? So that's why I said we'll be developing a custom web part using .NET IDE. Fine. So for this, what we have to do is, first you have to create a project in this, because each and every time whenever you want to create any application or any website, you have to start with creating a project, and you have so many types of projects. Let me just demonstrate that. You have to go to file, new project. So now, like if you learn .NET, you will be getting into these things very deeply, right? So here you can see that there are so many type of applications are there, or projects are there, which is you can develop a C# where you can actually develop Windows based applications, web applications, cloud applications, which is recently I hope you guys know Azure tools, which is Microsoft tools, which is very powerful for cloud computing, right? And you have something called reporting tool, right? If you are working for a client, so this reporting tool is used to generate crystal reports, which is nothing but different graphs or some statistical data filtering using reports. Again, it's a separate type of application. Fine. And you have something called SharePoint option here, where you can actually build so many things like web parts, content type, definitions, like so many list. You can also create a list, event receiver, all these things. So if you can see under SharePoint, you have different versions again, right? Because actually the latest version is 2010 anyways. We also have 2012, but never mind, you can also have 2000. You have 2010, which is at current market, this is the most stable version of SharePoint we have in market, right? So that's how we go for 2010 today. And you also have something called Silverlight. Silverlight application is nothing but, you would have seen MSN, right? MSN.com. So in MSN.com, I think you would have seen something like whenever you open any video, it will be running on Silverlight, right? So Silverlight is nothing but just for your for your information, like I hope you guys know what is a Adobe Flash Player, right? In YouTube, all the videos you run is running on one software called Flash Player. Again, the Flash Player is built on a software being provided by Adobe called Adobe Flash. In the same way, Silverlight here is same as something called Flash Player, where we'll be using some projects called Silverlight projects to build different platforms for videos, right? So that is nothing but a Silverlight project. And you can have some test, WCF, which is Windows Communication Foundation, which is used for if you are talking to different different platforms, you can use this. So these are the different things you have. And you can also see here, so your one IDE is compatible with all from 2.0c. It can give compatible with the older versions and the newer version. If you want to add more, you can add more. Let us not touch this, let us go with 4 version itself, right? So that is a basic thing we have. So let's go back here again. Let's go to SharePoint and let me select 2010. We have so many options. Let me create a project first, because you have to create a project first in order to make different components in that. Let me take an empty SharePoint site and let us call it as some batch SharePoint or info SharePoint. Let me take it as info share project. And I'm just giving some path in my this, right? Just say okay. So what it does is so now can you see here, when I just added my site, right, it is asking for what is the SharePoint site you have already, right? This here you have to mention if you want to make it tightly coupled with your IDE, which is nothing but your Visual Studio. Here you have to provide your URL of your site, right? You can see you can go back to my site here. Can you see? Let's go back to something called corp IT collection, because my mother site is nothing but you have to give something called collection site URL. So you can see here, this is my URL, right, which is 48548 and my server name Srinath. So let me copy this up and let me paste it here, which means what I am doing is, whatever I am doing here, I am making it tightly coupled with my SharePoint server, right? It is the same thing even if you are using, even if you are going for real time, right? If you have SharePoint server in a remote server, you can also mention that URL here, which means whatever you do from this .NET IDE, it will be tightly coupled with that SharePoint server, right? It is directly connected. So that's why it's very powerful to you can also connect some remote machines directly using URLs and direct ports, right? It will talk to the machine over there, it will talk to the SharePoint server and will get you access to that, right? So let me just first validate it, so that let us see whether we can actually use this or not. Let me click on validate. It is checking whether we can use this or not. Yeah, you can see, right, successfully connected to SharePoint, which means I can use this because I have an access to this. So here you have two options here, which is deploy sandbox. Sandbox is separate type of application, solution, which is as of now we don't need this because we'll be going for farm solution. Farm solution is nothing but it always runs on SharePoint administration privilege. You can see here, means that user must have SharePoint administration to run and deploy, like, which is completely tightly coupled directly. Sandbox is something which is, again, you are creating a separate in between layer for that, but you can select either of this. But as of now, let's select something called farm solution, right? And I have given my site here. Let's click on finish. Fine. So it is creating some project, which is some info share project for us, right? And you can see here project creation is successful, right? So now your project is successful. So here info share project, under this you will be having some files. Don't worry about that, they are the default files being created, which actually supports your project. Whatever you want to do, it will be supporting now, right? So now what actually we want to do is, we want to create a web part. So what is the web part again? If I go to some page, Info Institute, right, and if I click on something like edit page, right, so I can have my add web part here. I just click on add web part. So whatever you can see at this tab, which is load up, yeah, so these things are nothing but web parts. So as of now, what we have seen is, we have seen something like everything which are already built in, or which SharePoint is being provided. So today, now using this project which we have created, and we have tightly coupled it with our SharePoint site, which is, we have tightly coupled with this site 48548, which is nothing but corp IT collection, right? And let us see how it actually works. Now let us go back, right? Let's go back to site which is Info Institute, right? So we are here now. Let's be here. So let's go back here. Now in this project, let me create so here, so if you are creating a web part from .NET, or let me say, if you are creating any web part or any component from .NET, you always say it as a visual type of a component. Fine. So for that, you have many options here. Just right click on this share project, go to add, and just say add new item here, right? And you can see a window, here where you can actually select anything here, right? You can add any sort of class, interface, and anything. But what we are interested in is in SharePoint, and SharePoint 2010 version, right? So here you can see visual web part. There are so many types here: visual, content, everything, application page, everything, right? So today we'll be checking out something called visual web part, which we wanted to create now. So let's create it as some info, like, let me give as info some web part, let me call it as my info, so that we can get it. Let us say whatever web part or web component we want, is the name of that is my info web part. Now let us see what actually can we do this. Click on add. So it will add you something called ACX. ACX is nothing but a web control or user control in .NET. So here you can see that automatically everything is being added, right? When you actually add one component here, which is SharePoint visual control, see it will automatically add something called references. These are nothing but references of SharePoint, security, link, web extension, everything. So don't worry about this. This will be taken care by completely by your IDE, .NET IDE for you, right? Now this is your web component. So here, what is here? Don't worry about all these things again. These are some things which are added in order to make your SharePoint web controls work or SharePoint utilities work, right? So don't worry about it. So let's go back directly to something called let me split it up first. Let me just minimize this. We don't need this as of now, right? So this is the area where you can actually do some design. So this I have just split it here. Let me so how what to design here? Let us say let us take an use case here again. Okay, let's go back. So first, initially what we want to do is this. Now let me open this. Let us take an example, right, and then we'll move on. So let's create a small basic web part, right, and we'll see each and every step how actually it is tightly coupled with that. So we'll be checking out output of deployment here. Let me open this up. Come on, yeah. So here, yeah, we have. Let us take this up. So here, it's only 3 components. What I am doing, I just want to explain this as of now, so that before doing that, let's explain. So what we want to do is we want to create a web part where there is a simple text box where you can enter anything. Let us say you can enter, so I am calling it as text box where you can enter some text, right? And you have a button. So when you click on this, right, I just want to show whatever you have written here. I just want to show at some area here. So that's a simple web part we have, right? So why I am drawing this is you will understand after when we actually improve this, right? So as of now, my one text box is here. I am stressing this is a text box, which means the control in .NET to enter some data is nothing but a text box. Even in SharePoint, whenever we have seen something like when we actually changed our columns, there you went there and typed in your column name, right? That is nothing but a text box. That is a .NET control. Again, whatever you are clicking on button, so this is nothing but a button control in .NET. Fine. In the same way, if you want to display whatever you have done here, we'll see how to display on click, and this is nothing but a label. I'll be taking one small label, right, and whatever you write it here on some action, we'll see how to print. So this is our small web part which you want to create, which is nothing but a custom web part. Fine. Let's go back and see how to do that, right? So let me get back to my IDE Visual Studio here, right? Now here all those things are already been provided for you in toolbox. You can see here everything, you can find it here. A drop box, image button, link, right, a text box, right, a button or list box, everything is being provided, a view, a table, an XML, right? So now what we are interested more is in, we want for a text box first. Let's drag and drop here. It is so simple. So let me drop here. Now you can see here it is automatically adding my code here, which is nothing but a HTML code. We just added something called text box here, and my name of text box is nothing but text box 1, right? And now let me just click enter on this because I want to add something below that, right? Or I can just say, right, let me just go to button here, go to some button, you can see button here, drag and drop here. Fine, it just went to this place. So let me just make it enter. Let me just get back. So here can you see here when you pressed enter, it automatically added something called BR. BR is nothing but break in HTML, right? So we have a text box here, and we have a button. So whenever you drag and drop, right, it will automatically create a code for you. So that is nothing but your IDE Visual Studio is creating a code for you, right? So our purpose is like we just wanted to have one text box and a button, right? And we wanted to display whatever is being written here. Now for that, what we have to take, we have to take a label. So let's go back and take a label here, right? Drag and drop here. Now again we want a label in separate line. Can you see this? I just dragged and dropped my label and it is here. So if you want to go to next line, if you want to make this label next line, what you have to do, either you have to select this and enter, or just write, you can just go back and here BR, right? It will automatically go to next line. Fine. So this is my label. Let us say I don't have any text initially, right? Initially I don't have any text, and let me save it up. So let us see, initially this is my small web part, but what we have done is we have taken a text box, we have taken a button, and we have taken a label to display whatever is been written here, but we haven't handled anything here, like, which means we haven't written any action, right? So how to write an action, where to write an action? So what I want is, I want to click on my button, so I want to do click. So double click on this button, you will go to something called events in .NET. Events is nothing but C. Can you see here? Button click. So let me go back here to my control. So you can see here on button one event been created, which is nothing but on click. On click, what I am doing, I am trying to call button underscore click. Now button underscore click is in here, which is a CS, which is nothing but a C# file of this, which is button click, right? So what I want to do, I want to whatever is there in this text box, what is this text box? Text box is nothing but text box 1. I want to print the value of that into my label. Label is label 1, right? So let's go back here and let us see how to do that. Now my label is nothing but label, right? Label 1 is my ID. You will get this. So whatever you are getting here, this window is nothing but IntelliSense. You understand? IntelliSense means, so as you start typing, you would have seen this in dictionary. Some dictionaries, if you start typing in, you will get all the options below, right? So here in .NET, if you start typing, it will give you all possible coding standards for you. So this window is nothing but your IntelliSense window, which is provided by .NET. Even in Java, if you are using Eclipse, you will be having separate IntelliSense. But Java IntelliSense is so powerful, it will give you all the objects you want. I said label 1 is already there because we have added it in our control. Let's select that and just say I want to set text, which means just say text is equal to, I want to set text of my text box. Let us take text box. You can see here text box 1, enter dot text. We will just go with a simple thing here. So what we have done, we have created one text box, one button, one label here, and on my button click, when I double click on this, it will go to the same method here. Inside that, what I am doing, I am assigning my label text with my text box. Now my component is ready now. So what I want to do is, I want to port this component to my Sharepoint. Now let us see how. So it's very straightforward. You don't have to work on much, because initially when we created this project, we have already coupled it with our Sharepoint site, right? So now we just have to run this project, that's it. So before running, what you have to do, you have to build this file, which is, go and say rebuild. So here you can see, let me show you the output here. See what it does. So rebuild started, info share project, right? Build is in progress, right? So see, it will build is successful, which means your component is created. Can you see here, info share DL is created. Now how to deploy, don't worry, you just have to click on this start button. Just click on start. Now just pay an attention to this output here, guys. So can you see here, it says first is recycling application pool. We have some application pool, and it is restarting that, right? And here you can see adding solution info share project WSP, right? And deploying the solution. So what it does is, in that ISC, wherever we have created our project called call IT, also yeah, it's corp IT, right? There what it is doing is, it is deploying something which is a feature. Can you see here, we got an error in deployment step, active features attempted to perform. Yep. So this is very important. I got an error here. So this is very important error which you will be getting often. So can you see this point, deploy failed, and can you see the can you see why it happened? Just say there was some errors. Do you want to continue? Just say no, and it shows what was the actual problem. Can you see here? It says error occurred in deployment step, activate features because attempted to perform an unauthorized operation. Why it is unauthorized? Now can you see here, I am using some user called Srinath and a user and admin, right? But if you can see here, I am logged into some other user which is some with some other name anyways, right? Now which means this admin of this site is admin, but when I try to run this application, it is running as an administrator, but user I am using is something else, right? So which means you have to give permission to that user. Now see how to give the permission. So this is how we actually give the user permissions. Just pay an attention guys here. So for that you have to go back to central administration again, right? This is our central administration screen, if you remember, right? And in that you have to go to application maintenance again. Here you have something called application maintenance. Click on that. Now here you will get the screen where you will get all the options of maintaining applications, right? Now under site collections we have something called change site collection administrator. Can you read that? Change primary and secondary owners of site. Let us go and see whether I have my user to what so I have logged in with one user called Sony. Let us see whether it is there or not. Fine. I have just clicked because my site now currently I am using something called admin for this, but I have to make sure my current user to whatever I am logged in is also there in this administrator. Let us see whether it is there or not. Okay, can you see here? So so let me select the site first. So change site collection, because we have to make sure you are watching at the right site, right? It can go so we have created so many sites here. So first step is go to your site first. Now you can see if you are not able to recollect, say batch IT call, it is something else. This is not outside. So again you have one more option here, select your web application, click change web application, right? Okay, so it was some other, so but our application is nothing but corp IT, right? Select on that. Now you can see here 48548, right? Now click on OK, which means now click on OK. Yeah, now we are in the right side. Now in the right side again you can see only one guy is an administrator who is admin, but we don't have some other. So let us go back here and let me add something called secondary site collection administrator. Let me give something like Sony and click on this. So now I have one more user which is nothing but Sony, and I have something called admin. Let me click on OK, which means I am giving permission Sony as an administrator of a site called corp IT collection. Fine. Let me click on OK. So so what it does is it will go to permission levels of IIS, it will go to permission levels of DB. Everything is being done by SharePoint itself internally. So what it does, it will update your SharePoint administrators from one admin to it will add one more admin called Sony. And after this let us go back and yeah, now sorry. So now let's go back and check and cross check whether it is there or not, right? Because we have to make sure that even your secondary user is the current user with whom you are creating a .NET project. Now it says yes, 48548, right? You can see here 48548, and primary administrator is admin and second administrator is Sony, right? It's perfect. Now let's go back to .NET site, right? Now, so before we have got this one, right? So in order to move out of that, let us rebuild our site first. Go to build and rebuild. Now you can see, so what it does is it will again create the whole output for you, right? It is rebuilding and your complete thing is rebuilt. Now let us run this now. Now see what happens here. So just watch out at here. So again it is recycling app pool. Application pool is nothing but it checks corp pool. You remember this? Whenever we created corp IT collection, now it is directly taking this, because what we have done is we have made it tightly coupled with our SharePoint site, which is nothing but corp IT call, and base site of that is corp pool, which is application pool of that site, and it is making this DLL deploy, tracking the solution, right? Now it is deleting solution because we have already deployed it, right? So that's why what it does is it will delete and add solution again. So previously it added, but due to access privilege it failed. So now it is adding again my WSP file of info share project to SharePoint server again, right? And it is trying to activate some features, right? So you can see this symbol here, this symbol where I am pointing to, this symbol. This symbol in .NET is nothing but there is some deployment going on, right? Okay, it says debug not enabled. Let me enable debug. Just click on OK. So that first it will ask only one time anyways, right? Which means now your you can see here deployment succeeded now, because previously it's only because of authorization it went off, it went failed. Now let us see what happens. It will automatically open your SharePoint site, not to worry, and in that SharePoint site everything will be, this component will be deployed. We'll be checking out that now. Fine. So come on. So anyways, for deploying it's going to take some time. If your PC is so faster, it won't take much time, but it will take some time because it has to refresh everything in IIS. It has to actually embed your actual component, whatever you have developed now, into that SharePoint as a custom web control. Right now it is starting the SharePoint now. So we have to have patience over here. Much patience is required. So you can see that it is loading so many DLLs into that. It went to not respond. Yeah, let it come back.
So Srinath, when we go on action.
Yes, Rupi, yes. Sorry?
My voice keeps echoing.
Yeah, you can just type in Trupti. I don't know how it is happening. Yeah. You can just mute up and type in. Yeah. So here it is trying to open, our SharePoint site, which is nothing but 4854524, right? Which is Corp IT collection. It will directly open you that. You can see here, it directly went to 48548, right? And when it goes to this page, it will again ask for credentials. So here we have to give the credentials, right? Which is nothing but admin here. Let it load. And so when we go to actual place, we will have what? Yeah. We won't have no. When you go to corporates, right? They will also for installing part. Anyways, administrator will do for you. So you don't have to worry about installing .NET in your office, because administrator they'll make your PC ready with .NET. Not to worry. Fine. Bear with me, guys, because it's some heavy thing going on, and there are so many parallel things moving on in my PC, like recording, voicing, and it is interacting with SharePoint. So come on. Right. So till this point, do you guys have any doubt? So till it loads, let me just get some. If you have any questions or something, because it's gonna take some just few maybe seconds maybe. Guys, you can just mute up your mic. I can see your yeah. So let me see okay, admin is someone. See here, Trupti, I hope you have to mute your mic. Can you just mute your mic? Yeah. So here, admin is also similar to running a test. Okay, fine. So here whenever I am talking about admin, here admin is different. So there are so many different types of admin. So here whatever I am talking about, admin here is the one who take care of software maintenance in corporation, right? So whenever you want to install something, you have to request your manager to install, right? So whenever you request your manager, right, so what he'll do, he'll raise a CR, like, or SR, service request for with the above people, with someone who actually maintains software. So he'll come to you and he'll make all the kind of setups you want, right? Okay, so we have something here which, let me just go on. Yeah, okay, not a problem, because it is already attached. Fine, not a problem. Let me go back to the site. Yeah, so now site is loaded, guys. Can you see here? So finally it is loaded. Now let's go back to again our info institute here, which is we have created it, and where we have some web parts already there, right? So now what happened is, what happened here is, let me go to output and show you what actually happened here. So just clear this up. Let me go to design only, we don't need this, right? So what happened is, several libraries and everything got deployed into something called your SharePoint, fine, to the which is local to my PC, right? Everything is being set up, and it'll directly give me access to the web component being deployed. And now let us see where it is now, right? Now let's go back here, where, so I want to add the web part here now, which we have just created. Again, go to the same edit page, right, and go back to add web part here. Click on add web part, right? So when I click on add web part, it will give me all the web parts we have by default. Yeah, now can you see here? So all the things are there as it is, but something else got added, something called custom. When you click on custom, can you see this my info web part, right? It got added automatically. We have done nothing, but what we have done is, we have just connected to the SharePoint. So all the connection parts, everything will be done by your .NET IDE, and you have to make sure the configuration part, like how to connect. That is, while creating a project, give something called URL and check it up correctly, right, with all access parts. Click on add. I'm just adding the web part whatever we have developed, right? And let me click on add here. I've just clicked on add and it is adding my web part to yeah, can you see now here my info web part, right, where we have something called text box and a button. Now let me type something on this text box, which is okay. So I have added my web part. Let me just say stop editing, because we have to go to actual page where it is, right? So let me go back to the page, go back to info institute, right? Now, so this is the page we have, right, which is a complete web part page, and here we have some custom web part which we have actually developed from .NET. Now let me type in something, hello world, something, right? So let me click on button, right? Can you see here, right? So what we did is we created one text box and we created one button, and we just did a small thing that on click of this button, whatever we wrote here, whatever, if you change it here and click on whatever we wrote here, on button click I want the same thing here. Fine. We just, so this is nothing but a custom web part which we have created via .NET. Fine. And you can go up to any sort of this. So let us say now what I want to do is it's a simple web part which we have created. Let me just improve this up. Let us say I want to highlight this this hello world. Now let us see how to do. Let us close all the IEs now. Let me close everything up here, which means it will just go and kill everything here. You can see here when I closed my there is one more thing. We just can you see here, just it is taking some time anyways, not to worry. When we ran something here, right, see here, recycling as spool again, what it is doing is see, retracting solution again, deactivating the feature. Can you see this? It is again deactivating the feature, but it is not deactivating completely. Fine. Your web part is again there. When you go to your site and if you try to access that web part, it will be there, not to worry. But as we have closed, which was attached to this, right, which was attached in the sense I have accessed that web page from this start of here, right? So that's why it just retracted, and now everything is been retracted. Now let us improve our solution a bit more. Let us say I want to change my highlight this. So what to do, I will select my label. Here something called properties in .NET, which means properties in the sense what you can change your font, you can change the color of this, anything. Let us say I want to change font color of this to some color, some highlighted color, and font, click on font and just say I want to give some size, like just want to give some medium size, right? So let me give some large size so that it will be visible, right? Let me save this first, save it up now, which means when you save, it's already ready, it's a component ready for you. Now let me rebuild it, rebuild the solution so that a DLL will be created for this web part so that you can use it over there, right? So my build is in progress. So here your rebuild all succeeded, right? Now let's run this up. So here we have no IEs open or no administrator open here. Now let me run this up. Click on start. Right. So what we have done is we have changed one attribute of the whole component. Let us see. So let us see what happens. You can see this. It says found one deployment conflicts because we have already a component there. Can you see here? It says deleted file. It will delete the old file because we have already created a new component with some changes, right? So that's why it will delete the old file and create the and copy the new web part file into the same SharePoint server. Now it is opening the server again for us, which is SharePoint site again. Fine. now it asks for some credential. Let me give the credential, right? And let's go back to the site. You can see here each and every DL is working on it to get the site, right? Go back here, right? Your property collection came. Now directly go to info institute. Don't go and check to add that. Directly go there, right? So because what we have done is we have changed the custom web part which is already been added to info institute, right? So let us see what happens when we go there, because the source of info institutes, one of the web part which is info, my info web part is being changed, right? Now okay, let us check okay here, because it says my debugger is already done, which is okay. Now let me just say again, you can see hello world which we have given again. Let's select this. So now can you see, I just changed one thing over there, and it changed the complete picture of my web part. Fine. So this is how we create a web part using .NET, right? And how exactly it is being deployed, because if you want to deploy, it's straightforward. Only thing is you have to take care of different issues we get. So here during deploying we got one issue which was not expected, which is nothing but authorization issue. It gave direct issue, that's why we were able to check out the authentication of this issue. So where to check that, and we have already recorded, you can just check it out. We have to go to central administration, right? In that you have to go to something like application maintenance, and check on under site collections. You will be having something like check for site access. Click on that, right? And see whether your current logged in user is an administrator or not. If it is not, try to add that and come back here, rebuild your project, and run it again. So when you run it, which means it will go deploy your web component and the whole project in your SharePoint server, and it will tag to your current server, which is nothing but this page 48548, and you can use that web part over here. Fine. So I hope this was a straightforward. That's why I took some time for you guys to explain, and even my even it went slow, but it will go slow because it has to do everything, right? So the at first time, obviously when it is trying to connect, it will take some time. So that's why this is how we add different components. Again, you can multiply this again. How to multiply again? Go to site actions, just say edit web page, right? You can have any number of these anyways, right? And just say add web part here at this point, right? Go to custom, my info web part, and click on add. So now your web part is again added here, which is info 1 and 2, because both the names are same. That's why it will directly say take 1 and 2, not a problem, right? Let us say stop editing, right? And let's go back to our actual site here, to back button and info institute, right? And here you can see the clean page here, which is we have two different things. And let me just say something like how are you, okay, and click on this button and see what happens. And parallelly, let's go, right, click on this button and you can see something here, which is like how are you here. And just let's come back here, okay, something sp batch, sp batch, sp some, let me say sp batch some batch 12 something. I can click on this and see it acts as a exclusive web parts, right? So your label button text box here are different from label text box button here, because this web part is exclusively different from this web part again, but both are of same type. I can say both are of same type of my info web part. Fine. So this is how we actually define web parts in from .NET. And and we will see more examples tomorrow, because this is a basic example I've given. We'll see how, if and again it all depends on how clearly, or how how much do you know the .NET. As much the .NET you know, you can create that strong component or strong web part for your SharePoint. Fine. So for that you can just learn something, where I'll just show you some more things in here, like creating events and creating something dynamically, doing some execution dynamically in SharePoint, but creating a web part on SharePoint, sorry, .NET. We'll see that, right? And I hope you understood how to basically create this web part from .NET, and how to connect it to SharePoint, right? And how to deploy that, and how so you should always take care of this thing called output here, guys. This is very important. Even if you are not able to see, let us say sometimes you won't be able to see this tab output here, right? There is no, so in that time go to view. We have something called in .NET Editor, you can see all the type of windows here. You will have something called output. Click on that, so your output window will be enabled. So always keep this in mind, because this is where everything will be printed, so whether it is being deployed or not and all. So this is also called as console. So these are all the console outputs which we are able to see here, right? Everything will be displayed, and if you have any errors, it will be automatically will be displayed in error list. You can see here, it will display here, right? Not to worry, and take care of those errors. Try it out, right? If you have .NET in with you, and if not, just go through this video. If you have any doubt, you can just ask me, right? About web parts through .NET. So tomorrow we'll just check out one more example for this, right? And tomorrow anyways we'll go, I'll just go a bit faster, because now you know how to create a project, how to create a web part or visual web part, and how to connect it up. So we have connected it, and we have solved some issues, and we have seen something over here. Fine, guys. You guys have any doubts now? You can just ask me questions now, like who is an administrator, like many things.
So, will you give us the links for the
Will you
.NET?
give us the links? Oops. Links of links of.
Will you give us the links?
Oops. So much of echo is being going on. Can you just links of? Let me, you can just type in here. Let me type in. Okay, you guys can just mute up, so that we can see much of typing here. Let me close this windows. I hope, can I close this .NET window and all, so that my system will be faster now. Can I? You can just type in Mohammed
Yes.
and Lakshmi. Can I?
Yeah.
Okay, let me close this. So that now I can answer your questions. Like, I hope you will be getting more questions now. If I can close this. Let me go back and yes. Actually, .NET is a licensed one, Lakshmi. .NET is completely licensed one. I can give you the torrent or the link to download. Let me just to get the torrent links, where we have some cracked. You have to download the cracked one, because I'm using the licensed one actually, because I've got a copy of license from direct my office. So one sec, I just got one more thing. Sorry, you're not asking something?
It's me who's asking.
One sec. Let me close this up
I
here.
think it's
Yeah,
he
Lakshmi.
wants that.
I'm sorry.
.NET.
Let me call you guys back again, because it seems it was so. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mohammed. Yeah, now you can ask me. Now it's clear now. Lakshmi, Trupti.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, no echo now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was asking about the .NET.
Mm-hmm. So actually, dot.
To provide the link.
Yeah, actually, I'll do one thing. I'll provide you with a torrent. You know torrent, right? You know how to download a torrent, right? I hope you know. It's a BitTorrent. You can just go back and download from torrent site. I'll give you the torrent link if you want. With the crack, which is completely you don't need a key. I'll give you that so that you can try out. But basically you should know that .NET is a completely licensed product, right? It is like, yeah. So I'll try to find the torrent for you guys. Not a problem, right? And Mohammed, do you have how did you get your .NET, Mohammed?
I just got torrent.
Let me just.
I had to Google it online, and somewhere I downloaded the torrent, and then I used a BitTorrent to download it.
Okay.